Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Tuesday. Let's talk about some stuff. I'm feeling a little bit agitated today. I was recently scandalized by an exchange I had on Gab, and it let me know just how far some people in our society have really fallen. Now, I would share screenshots, I fully intended to, but at the moment I can't seem to access all of them. So I'm wondering if perhaps this is a sign that there's been a couple of people who may have blocked me. Now, another factor to consider is that the way Gab delivers replies is quite disjointed, and the notifications seem to come into whatever order they happen to feel like. This is one of the many reasons why I think the platform is pointless for genuine conversation. It's fine for just shouting your view into the universe, but it's completely impractical for real exchanges. So in lieu of presenting chapter and verse in this video, especially since I'm not sure what order the chapters and verses came in, I'm just going to put a spotlight on some of the reoccurring themes that came from that mess of a discussion. So the first one is the stated desire by many of the users there, including the owner apparently, is to form a Christian theocracy in America. The second is an attitude that rejects freedom of religion, and a few people who don't understand how a theocratic society, by definition, does not allow for freedom of religion. That was a special kind of stupid. And then the third, there were a few monarchists who appeared out of nowhere that expressed their hope for a return to monarchy of some sort because they think that would be better somehow. They were pretty short on details, and they weren't exactly pointing out who they think would make a good monarch, so yeah, that's real thought out. And then fourth, there were sadly, and these were in the minority, I do want to make that clear, but there were some ethno-statists in the mix, who they said they don't care what kind of government there is as long as they get the country composed the way they want it to be along racial lines, which I just found utterly disgusting. Do not be fooled by my pale girl vampire complexion. I have family members who are of a wide variety of different ethnicities. So these ethno-statists who want to have a country in which I would not have all of my family members, no. How about no, you sick fucks? It's just, it angers me so much because our country was actually past this kind of shit in a lot of ways, and now there are people who are breathing new light into the evils of the past. I mean, my brother, he married a girl from Honduras. They're Jehovah's Witnesses, so they don't talk to me. But it's perfectly possible that I have nieces and nephews now who are half Honduran. And my aunt, she married someone who had Hispanic descent. I have a cousin who is of Hispanic descent. And then what about my friends who have come in every shade of the freaking rainbow? The idea of having a country without these people who I love and are near and dear to my heart just makes me ill. But moving along, the fifth thing I saw, which is, last but not least, is that there was one particular fool who declared that the First Amendment was satanic Enlightenment philosophy and must be rejected at all costs. So, you can tell that that's going to be a real reasonable person there. So, the stupidity I witnessed in this discussion was absolutely horrifying, because each of these morons, clearly consider themselves to be patriots. And I don't know how you get off with that idea when you reject some of the most fundamental aspects of American society. I can only guess that they allowed themselves to be driven so crazy by the political opposition that it led them to rejecting the very ideas of America, just as surely as the leftists have rejected those ideas. I'm so ashamed of these people, I don't even know where to begin. But begin we shall. Let's look at the text of the First Amendment. It reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Never before in my life was any aspect of this amendment in dispute. Now, we can have a conversation about the politicians and law enforcement who do not uphold it. They need to be punished. But up until now, saying that that standard represented by the First Amendment was good, that was not controversial. Because being an American has never been about the citizens being in lockstep or being of one singular accord. It has always been about making room for each other, having public discussions, living in accordance with our individual consciences. The very idea of seeking to impose by law religious preferences upon others at the governmental level was just repugnant to everyone. Now, apparently, history teachers, when I was in school, were not as incompetent as they apparently are at present. They actually covered what happened when church and state were hand in glove and the atrocities that were committed during the Dark Ages. And lest anyone forget, those victims of those atrocities, they weren't just pagans, they weren't just people who disbelieved in the Christian God. Many of those victims, if not the majority, were Christian, who should have been safe amongst their own people. But lo and behold, they found themselves out of favor with the church, out of favor with their neighbors, and no one came to save them. And for a while, Europe had plenty of burning pyres to testify to that. It was the philosophers of the Enlightenment that taught the church how to mind its manners and introduced the idea that there needed to be limitations and that there was a need for separation between religion and secular governance, and it wasn't up to anyone to dictate another person's conscience or belief system. That in turn led to greater human freedom, and it was the Enlightenment that influenced the founders of this country, which is why they enshrined the acknowledgement of our natural rights in the Constitution, and it's why they rejected any theocratic overtones within the government. And this brings us to some things that shouldn't need to be said, but here they are, because apparently they do need saying, and this annoys me. I told you I was agitated this morning. But to begin with, any attempt to establish a state religion or to reorganize the country into theocracy is a betrayal of the Constitution itself. The state has no right of any description to declare what people must and must not believe, much less punish dissent, which would be the inevitable result of such an arrangement. Implementing any such thing is just as seditious and treasonous as implementing any aspect of socialism. This desire for Christian theocracy is just another branch on the authoritarian tree, and I condemn it as strongly as I do all forms of authoritarianism. Period. Second, even if a majority of Americans wanted Christianity as a state religion, they have no right to impose it. The whole point of a republic is to prevent the majority from voting away the natural rights of the minority. The problems our nation faces stems from a refusal to enforce the Constitution, not from upholding it. 3. Christianity is not the foundation of Western civilization. Pagan philosophy and culture is. Christianity was a foreign religion that was grafted on top of the West, and the conduct of its adherents has not inspired confidence amongst polytheists, or even amongst other monotheists, because history shows how willing the church and Christians have been to persecute one another for not being the right kind of Christians. The framework of the Constitution allows pagans and Christians to coexist, and it is no small thing to advocate for ignoring and overturning these constitutional limitations. 4. Monarchy is not the answer. Our entire country is a repudiation of the very notion of monarchy, and an ethnostate of any kind is a rejection of the reality that the United States was multi-ethnic from the start. We are not a country of bloodlines or a shared religion. It is shared philosophy, personal freedom, personal responsibility, natural rights, limited government. That is what makes an American an American. And 5. If someone doesn't understand why any of this is a problem, then they clearly don't have an opinion that's worth taking into consideration, because such a person hasn't looked into historical consequences of the kind of lunatic ideas that we have previously discussed. Problems are not solved by fools, and failure to understand the nature of this kind of issue is foolish indeed. So, stepping off my soapbox now, it is your turn. What do you think? Well, let me know in the comments section below, and come see us on Discord at Blackbird's Brew, and just vent away there. We have an entire channel devoted to politics and current events. That way the people who do want to discuss this can, and those who want to avoid it can. But either way, let us know what you think. Look forward to seeing you there. But I think that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.